In this lecture, we will study a little more of the motion of the planets with respect to the fixed stars. Remember, the planets were called wanderers because they showed motion with respect to the stars, which were seen by the ancient astronomers as fixed and immovable. In this lecture, we are going to study the motion of the planets. In particular, we will look at something called retrograde motion. If we follow the sun and the moon in the sky, the first thing we notice is the daily motion. Both rise in the east and set in the west, every day. But if we look more closely, we see the sun and the moon both move with respect to the background stars. That motion is west to east, always west to east. The sun moves about 1 degree per day. The moon moves about 13 degrees per day. Over the course of a month, the moon will move across the entire sky. We will return to the subject in a later lecture. For now, the important point is that the motion of the sun and the moon are always west to east with respect to the stars. Here we follow Jupiter over the course of a few months. In May 2016, Jupiter was in the constellation of Leo. Look at its position with respect to the stars. In June 2016, it is slightly farther east. In July 2016, even farther to the east. In general, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn all seem to show a general west to east drift, like the sun and the moon. But if we follow the motion over an entire year, the motion of these three planets does not seem to be consistent. At times, the planets exhibit an irregular motion when compared to the motion of the sun and the moon. They occasionally reverse direction in the sky. We call this reversal retrograde motion. This is the motion of Mars in the year 2000. Mercury, as a morning star, is west of the rising sun. Venus is similar. In the evening sky, it is east of the sun. Both show motion east to west and west to east. Mercury occasionally crosses in front of the sun. We call this a transit. When it does, its motion is from east to west. Here is the 2016 Mercury transit as seen from New Hampshire. Here we follow the motion of Venus and Mercury with respect to the sun in the evening sky. Both have similar motions. Starting close to the sun, Mercury and Venus move eastward until they are farthest from the sun, referred to as maximum elongation. Then they reverse direction and they move east to west towards the sun. They do the opposite in the morning sky. Here is a transit of Venus in 2004. The motion of Venus across the sun was east to west. Here is a transit of Venus in 2012. The motion of Venus across the sun was again east to west. The next transit of Venus will not occur until December 2117. A good question is, how do we know this? This is the motion of Saturn between 2006 and 2013. Notice the yearly retrograde motion. Why do the planets have such strange motion? What causes this motion? If you are asking these questions, you are starting to think like an astronomer. We won't answer the questions in this lecture, but we will over the coming weeks.